Welcome back to our ongoing series of Building Hope with Manatee Habitat. Today's show will focus on the green aspects of Hope Landing, which is Habitat's newest community. Joining us today is the team that helped design the green habitat homes that are being built at the community in Ellington, and includes Bruce Winter, Manatee Habitat's construction manager, David Bishop, Vice President with Ugardi and Associates, Architectural and Planning, and Carl Hadley White, Managing Member of ESC Sustainability Consultants. Thank you all for joining us today.
Sure. Thanks. Pleasure. It's good to be here.
Habitat International is really beginning to take some lead in building green homes, and it's kind of the future for Habitat in general. Manatee Habitat is taking some major steps in that area, and so today is really about talking about some of the efforts that we've made in this community to build green. So Bruce, why don't we start with you talking a little bit about the decision that Habitat made to go green?
Well, the decision overall, I think, was originally started in a way that we could lower the cost of homes for families to live in. It's not just a low-income house; it's a house that people have to live in on a monthly basis. So. Habitat International started the push to go green because we had mostly been what we call stick building. We had used a lot of hammers in that on our projects, and so our volunteer force was used to that type of construction. So in making these changes, it had to be pushed by Habitat International. And here in Manatee County, it actually started about 5 years ago with the start of one house that was built using ICF, which is an insulated concrete form block that helps with the insulation of the house. And that house really proved that Habitat volunteers could build green. And so the initiative was set out to build a community, Hope Landing, using all new technologies and building green.
Good. So community, use the word community. We build communities, but we also work together in the community. And that's a little bit about what this show is about, talking about the community that actually has helped us build Hope Landing. David, talk a little bit about the role that the architect played in this particular design for this home.
Sure, be happy to. First off, sustainability and green and all those terms, that's the foundation of an architectural education. It's become very popular in the last 15 or so years. Our firm, we are lead APs through the USGBC, and we're certified in commercial green. What's unique about this is when Carl came involved, he's more of a lead for homes type of approach. So, the foundation was there. When Bruce came to us, he had actually a concept for this house, and he showed us the plans, and he said, well, I'm thinking about the ICF and that insulated concrete form. What do you think? And we said, wow, it's pretty exciting because the energy efficiency, which Carl will probably touch on more of that, but the constructability of it, we had a concern also. But Bruce assured us that he had prepared his troops well for it, and now that it's a success, he's absolutely right.
That's great. That's great. And Carl, your role in this, how did you work in the team to help us design this home?
We've worked with Habitat for Humanity for a number of years, more so on the energy side. Mm-hmm. We've helped Habitat build their homes more efficient for a number of years. Habitat homes have been certified to a standard called Energy Star. That really shows that the homes have a certain level of energy efficiency. And when Bruce asked us to get involved in the Hope Landing project, that was really, we were taking the Energy Star to the next level really, and looking on how we could improve on the efficiency of previous homes built, look at some of the different building technologies out there, and look at the various different options of building the envelopes and different insulation and different types of HVAC systems, and all of that we put into an energy model which then predicts how energy efficient the homes will be. And that was really used as the basis for making some of the informed decisions, to maybe use spray foam for the attic insulation, looking at what benefits the ICF construction would bring, what impact using high efficiency glazing would have from an energy, from a running cost perspective, because a lot of the technologies and a lot of the things that have been built at Hope Landing are things that will pay back over a number of years. They're not immediate payback. So that's really what we brought to the table. We've also done obviously the green certification side of it, which David just touched on. What was good was Habitat decided to actually undertake the certification of the homes, which we're not only doing, we've certified homes previously with Habitat under the Florida Green Building Coalition standard, but we also made the decision on these homes to actually pursue a national standard, which is the USGBC Lead for Homes, which is nationally recognised, which is what we thought was important on these homes.
So you really did start sort of with the end result in mind, didn't you? Really, you know, where do we want to be and how far do we want to go with this, and worked back in a sense to make that happen. So,
Well, one of the big questions you always have to ask is how green. You know, how green do you want to build? And the direction I got was as green as we can afford. So we set out with that in mind, and it was a design build. It did take a team. I mean, I can't express the thanks enough to both of you for the work that you've put in. You know, David, from the standpoint of looking at this new type of construction using ICF block, working through some of the details of using spray foam insulation, how we build what basically is a duplex home, a shared walled home. And then the time that I got to spend with Carl, I mean, we sat a couple of times just at the computer and saying, what if we put this type of window in, what do we gain? And what if we put a three-sided front porch on? What do we gain? And all of that's really valuable because it was so easy to build in energy efficiency and sustainability when you're originally designing a home.
Starting from scratch, really. So you talked a little bit about Energy Star, spray insulation, ICF, some of the things that went into the home. What are some of the other features that make this green?
I'll start with that. I think what we did when we first started looking at these homes was we actually started looking at the building envelope to try and make the envelope as energy efficient as possible.
You're talking about the outside of the house?
The outside of the house, so the walls, the roof, the windows. We tried to make that as energy efficient as possible, so that then reduces the need for HVAC. We can then reduce the size of the HVAC systems rather than putting in a large system. We managed to get that as small as possible. To give you some idea of how energy efficient the envelope is, we used to design homes to 400 square foot per tonne for an AC system. I mean, the homes there at Hope Landing are 1,100 square foot per tonne for the AC system. So that shows how well, you know, the envelope's actually been, you know, how well the envelope performs. So from that, then we move on to look at the different systems that we then install.
Were there challenges? Did you get stuck in places? David, were there places in terms of the design
Well, I think it's kind of interesting what Carl was saying about, and Bruce too, you got budget, you've got a vision, and you got to bring it together. Right. And I think what happened is when we went through this process, you know, we had to think about basic geometry, and the basic geometry is how do you build something efficiently? A square is the most efficient design in terms of linear square foot around a building. A rectangle is more actually linear feet. So we tried to keep everything very square and simple. Now, square and simple might not translate into what most people might think is a McMansion. However, what we tried to do is add a little flair to the building with craftsman style details, the lap siding and those kind of things. So realistically, balancing the energy efficiency, the owner's budget, and coming up with that ultimate product, I think, was the biggest challenge.
Right, right. Carl, for you, were there challenges in the design?
From our side, I can't really say there were that many challenges, not from the design of the actual homes. For more of the green certification side, I think there were some challenges maybe on that side. Right. You know, because the green certification looks at everything. It doesn't just look at the energy efficiency of the home. It looks at its location, it looks at the materials used, it looks at the landscaping. And maybe landscaping was one area where we've maybe had some challenges there. We all know that Florida-friendly landscaping is the ideal for our environment, but that really doesn't work well when you build in a house for a family when they've got children, and so I think that was probably one of the challenges.
So we've talked about, building green and the value of that. Certainly, we know that environmentally that makes sense on so many levels. Why is it important for Habitat families to have green homes? Bruce, can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, I think you have to break it down and look at, there's two ways to build a house. You can build a very cheap house that's affordable, and I think that's the route that's been taken in the past. But I think it's more important to build a house that is affordable for the family to live in. I kind of mentioned that earlier, that it's not about initial cost of a house, it's how much does it cost to live in a home on a monthly basis. And that's what we really needed to look at, and that's the approach that we took. How could we offset the additions of green in construction to benefit our homeowners? And it turned out rather amazing. I mean, the upgrades from what we had been building in the past was only 8% of the construction budget. But for that money, the savings that we got on our utilities offset that. So, for our families, we actually give them a positive cash flow back because of the energy savings that they have. And I think that's the most important thing that our families look at is, they've got to live in it on a monthly basis.
That's a good point, Bruce. Just to add to that, the energy modelling that we obviously come up with a predicted energy cost. And to give you some idea of how efficient they are probably about 45 to 50% more efficient than the average new home being built today in the United States. So that's before we then look at any renewable technology. We've been talking over the last few months about maybe looking at utilising PV systems that would generate some electricity for the homes. Before we even consider these homes, before we even start looking at those, are at least 50% more efficient. So.
And just to follow up, we've talked about energy savings and efficiency of the owner's budget, but it's also about the health of the occupants. When you do a sustainable build, typically you're thinking about when you have new materials in a building, they off-gas, and those with volatile organic compounds, VOCs. So the benefit when you do sustainability is you're painting the interiors, you're thinking about the wood products, and you're putting in this low level of this off-gassing. Where in a conventional construction, if you're not doing sustainable, you have that paint smell or that new car smell. These buildings don't typically have that because we're taking that into consideration, which ultimately pays off for the occupants and the health.
We find so many of our homeowners coming with children who have respiratory problems already from the housing that they've come from in the past, and so we thought that was very important. And in looking at the design of the home, we took into consideration three things. We took the energy efficiency of the home, we took the sustainability of the home, and the safety in the home. And that's what I kind of based all of our decisions on, what products we used and where we could help the homeowner have the sustainable, safe home to live in.
You talked about the savings to our homeowners, that's not only about safety, but it's also about affordability. And we have a great story that we tell about one of our homeowners who moved into a Habitat home, green home, and received an electric bill in August, actually last year, and actually came to you, Bruce, didn't she, with concerns because she thought something was wrong with her system because she couldn't understand the bill and the dollar amount, and called you to find out if there was something wrong because her electric bill had been in her apartment $110, a month, and for that month it was $41.
Yep.
And just was, so surprised and so overwhelmed by it. And it happened to come at a time in which her budget had changed, and it was just a real blessing to her to be able to
She actually asked me if it was a half-month bill.
Yeah.
I said, do they send out half-month bills?
Right.
No, it was a 32-day bill,
Right.
and it was less than half of what
Right.
she had averaged in the
Right.
past.
So for Habitat homeowners, this impacts on so many levels in a positive way, because it means that the resources that would normally be going to utilities and those kinds of things can be spent on education and the needs of the children and repairs of the home. So it all fits into that. Because sometimes we think of green as being something that we can't afford to do, but in some ways we can't afford not to do it for our
Correct.
homeowners in that sense.
That's right.
So what was fun about doing this for you all? What was fun besides the team effort? What was fun about the design and the creativity of this?
For me, it was being able to work with the team, being able to do a design build to where we could actually start looking at the possibilities, and then working with volunteers to show that you don't have to have an experienced labor force, that with the right direction from the team members and that, we were able to put together a package that could be built by volunteers, and they're having a great time learning the new techniques.
That's right.
And they're starting to use them in their own homes.
Oh, that's fun. That's fun.
Actually, the volunteers. I volunteered for Habitat for Humanity when I was in college in Georgia. I enjoyed the experience, and then now coming back and seeing the volunteers do the stuff and work with them. And Bruce's crew, they're always energetic, they're always ready to go in the hottest parts of the year. And to me, that's the most exciting part, is to see the volunteerism.
Right.
I think the education of the homeowners, I think that was something that was very satisfying for us. Having these homeowners come from the older homes to a brand new house, which is got some of the technologies that maybe, and some of the building practices that they've never seen before. And for us to do some educational programs with the prospective homeowners, I think that was one of the highlights for us.
That's great. So there hasn't been a whole lot of resistance. I think everybody's been open to it. The volunteers, that could be we went stick build and now we're going into this, new technology, and we didn't find resistance there. The homeowners certainly are supportive of and excited about it. So the volunteers really are embracing it.
Yeah, they really have caught on. Initially, they're reluctant to put down their hammers because when you think of Habitat, you think of swinging hammers and building wood homes. But the ICF block actually is more like a Lego system. You just stack blocks together, and then it's poured concrete. All new technologies in our roof, and going to a metal roof and using a cement board siding. We changed just about everything on them, and they were up to the challenge. And now I think I would have a hard time getting them to go back. I think they're enjoying this new construction,
right.
And it's leading edge. They're learning stuff that you don't even see out in out in the rest of the community.
Right. We've been able to talk to our volunteers and homeowners about the choices we've made in terms of products for this house, the metal roofs, the siding. At first you look at those and you think that's an extra cost. It's going to be more than what we should be doing for our homeowners. Metal roofs are expensive. They're more expensive than the traditional roofs. But what's the theory behind that? What's the thinking behind using those kind of products for Habitat homeowners in particular?
Well, as I said, we looked at energy, we looked at sustainability, we looked at safety. And all of these play a factor in our decisions. With the roofs, it was really easy because you can use a shingled roof. And here in Florida, you can look at 15, 20 years from now, you'll put another one on, and all of that waste goes into the landfill. And then at the end of like a 30-year mortgage, you'd be doing it again. It'd be a considerable expense to our homeowners, whereas we can put a metal roof in that costs a little more initially, but you put it in now, and if taken care of properly, you'd never have to put another roof on. Same thing we did with the siding. We used to use a lot of vinyl siding in this area, but it also dries out from the sun. The other thing is the safety aspect of it. Metal roofs have higher wind speeds. These ICF block homes have much higher wind speeds than even concrete block homes that are being built in this area. So from the safety aspect, it's a win-win for our families.
That actually is an additional benefit to the homeowner because of their insurance. We did a hip roof versus
Yep.
doing gable roofs.
Yep.
So all those little design decisions that you make, you might like that gable triangle. However, when we decided to make the roof low, make it a hip, those kind of come into play when you get your insurance. So that's an added benefit to the homeowner. Their homeowner's insurance, their wind policy should be lower because of
Absolutely.
it.
It takes a lot more time to put that metal roof on, cutting
True.
all those angles, but it's worth it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Definitely. So where can we go, from this point on with Habitat and green design? I mean, do you all have, visions for us in terms of Habitat and what we could do and what more we could do with the design and the sustainabilities in terms of, the future for Habitat?
Well, I think Habitat are really showing the way really to other builders. You've really shown that it is possible. It doesn't have to cost the earth. And other builders are looking at you guys. You're setting an example and showing how building can be done. And I think that's great. That's great. And I think if we can continue to do that, and especially now we're actually going, as well as just building those homes, we're actually going to be certifying them and getting some local recognition and some national recognition for the homes, together with the awards that have now been won. For the homes, I think that that's all positive.
Well, I think it's one thing to say that you're building green. It's another thing to prove it.
Yeah,
you got to have the proof that you are accomplishing what you set out to do, and that's why we depend upon Carl so much for his efforts with us. I don't know. I think that Carl had mentioned before the PV photovoltaic panels. Through a program with Florida Power and Light, we're going to be putting on panels onto 2 homes probably within the next 2 weeks. And at a dedication that we'll have in September, we plan to show these homes with the photovoltaic panels on them. That's going to help our homeowners considerably, and we just want to use it as a proof as to, again, what can further steps be to lower cost of monthly expenditures for our families.
Yeah. We're excited about the reputation that we're building in this community. The award that you're referring to is Aurora Award that we received, and it's a recognition of the community working together to make this happen, and I'm very proud of what we were able to do, for our homeowners. It also is helping us in opportunities for funding. We've got opportunities because we're doing green now and certifying our homes in green. We now have options and opportunities for green funding for green homes, and so that's helping a lot too. So there's a lot to be said for this on so many different levels. So are there any other things that we've talked about today that we want to expand on? I want to make sure that we take time to do that today. If there's any other thoughts you had on green and Habitat's future and home.
Well, it all starts with the owner's vision, because I think from a design point of view, we would all try to do sustainability and things like that. That's good for the environment, good for the clients, good for everything. But if the owner doesn't have the will, or the board for Habitat, that's where it all starts. And I'm very grateful, and I speak for Carl probably too, that just to be a part of the shared vision is a great thing. And we thank Habitat for Humanity for allowing us to be a part of it.
That's great.
Well, we appreciate that.
I think I wish all of our clients were as open and acceptable to, doing things as Habitat are. Because, we've had challenges for sure on other projects, and just to be involved from the very beginning, before you even start the build process, is a big hurdle that you have to get over, because a lot of people start building and then they're halfway through construction and then they want to start thinking about designing a green home, and by the time you get to that, it's too late.
So it's really been a creative process, and we have so enjoyed being able to do it and look forward to the future and what we can do together. So I just want to thank all of you for being with us today, and so that we've had the opportunity to really discuss green building and how it can be affordable for Habitat families and benefiting the community at large. Our next show, we're going to be featuring a habitat project called Women Build, in which women throughout the Manatee County community will be coming together to raise funds and volunteer and build a habitat home for a single mom and her children.